The story of early men. The human beings who lived thousands of years ago are called early men. So, what are they called? They are known as early men. So, they came from a family of animals known as hominids. Now, these animals are no more in existence, okay? So, they lived a very complex life on the earth, okay? So, lived a very complex life on the earth, okay? Means there are several problems, okay? Their life was similar to the wild animals that we see today. They lived in caves, jungles, and on trees. They did not know how to produce food. That means they did not know cultivation. They did not know agriculture. Therefore, they roamed here and there in search of food. Okay? There are fruits, leaves, roots of plants, and also raw flesh meat of animals whom they hunted. So, what did they eat? Roots, fruits of plants, and flesh of animals. To cover their body, they wore the skin of dead animals, of which they ate the flesh and wore the skin and the bark of trees. Thus, for every basic necessary, they struggled a lot. Now, tools of early men. Early men used stones for hitting animals and digging out roots. They used some stones with sharp edges. They also used sharp wooden sticks as tools. Later, they learned to tie the sharp stones to the wooden stick. What we call spear is that one only that the early humans used. Stones tied to wooden sticks. Okay, so these tools were used to kill animals. Now the discovery of fire. On one day, the early men saw fire breaking out in the jungle. They were afraid of fire. I told you they were like animals. So as animals are afraid of fire, these early humans were also afraid of fire. They noticed that the animals were too afraid of fire. One fine day, they saw sparks when they rubbed two pieces of stone while making new stone tools. The dry leaves and grasses lying near it caught fire. This is how they learned to make fire. They found that fire protected them from cold as well as animals, because animals were very afraid of fire. Okay, they started learning the uses of fire. Now they could roast the animal's flesh by placing it on the fire. Roasted meat was tastier and healthier. Okay, so they found it that the meat that they ate earlier was not so much tasty, but this roasted one is tasty. The one we grilled. Okay, in KFC with the grilled chicken, that chicken only without spices, that chicken. Okay. So beginning of agriculture. Now early men had no idea of how to grow plants. So they lived by hunting and food gathering. It was also perhaps some woman who noticed that some seeds who had fallen from ripe fruits into the ground grew into plants after some time. This gave early men an idea to scatter grains on the ground. In due course of time, the seed grew into plants. Thus they learned about agriculture. Now they started living near riverside because it was easy for them to grow crops near the river. This farming gave their life a stability, and they stopped wandering in search of food. Earlier what happened? The early men wandered in search of food. Okay? But now their life was stable. Okay? And they stopped wandering in search of food, and they started living a life near a river so that the agriculture could be made. They made two different tools to make farming easy and begin to tame animals too. Okay? Tame means pet. Make animals their pets. Okay? Animals helped them in farming and carrying loads. Now from food gatherers, they became food producers. Now once they were food gatherers, they gathered food from here and there. Now they are food producers. They lived at one place in groups and helped one another in their works. This is how they started leading a settled life. Discovery of wheat. Sometimes early men had to visit nearby villages. They had to walk long distances on foot. They had to walk long distances on foot. They had to carry heavy loads on their back and shoulders. They also used animals to carry the loads. One day, the early men saw logs of wood floating on a river. This gave them the idea that they used trunks of trees for traveling in water. Later, they learned to tie a number of logs together and make a raft. These rafts were used as boats to carry men and their loads. Later, they made boats from hollow trunks of trees. On the land, however, early men still walked on foot with heavy loads. They made a cart of wood which did not have wheels. They pulled the cart themselves. Later, they used animals to pull it, but it was difficult to move the cart on uneven ground. Okay. So early men noticed some round pieces of tree trunks rolling easily. They fitted the small pieces of trunks in their cart, and now the cart could move easily even in uneven land. These were the first wheels. It made traveling on land easier and faster. So it's just like a story I am going, okay? So thus the invention of wheel became a turning point in the life of early man. Okay. So first wheel was discovered, then fire was discovered. Okay. Today, a variety of wheels, wood, steel, rubber, etc., are made in machines, toys, and vehicles. So, wheel was a turning point in human history only. Okay, this was a video.